We are told from a young age that the body is a machine that, with time, will inevitably rust, grind, and break down. The pain in our joints, the stiffness in the morning, we are taught to see these as signs of decay, as the unavoidable price of living. But what if this pain is not a punishment, but a message, a communication from a body that is desperately trying to tell us something we have forgotten how to hear? Most people will only listen for the list of foods, hoping for a simple answer. 99% will miss the deeper understanding of why these foods can cause harm, and in doing so, they will continue the very patterns that create the pain. To skip the final part of this journey is to be told there is a fire, but never learn how to find the source of the flame. Hidden fire. When we seek to nourish our bodies, especially in our later years, we often turn to what we believe are the purest sources of vitality, vegetables. We fill our plates with a vibrant array of colors, believing that each one is an unconditional offering of health. The intention is pure, but it is often guided by an incomplete understanding. The world of nature is not a simple collection of good and bad. It is a world of energies, of qualities, of dynamic forces. Some plants grow under the shade of night, and they carry within them a particular quality, a specific kind of intensity. This family of plants, which includes the tomato, the bell pepper, the eggplant, and many varieties of potato, contains a hidden fire. For a young body, a body with a roaring metabolic furnace and robust systems of elimination, this fiery quality can be handled, processed, and utilized without issue. The inner flame of youth is strong enough to meet this external fire and find balance. But as the body accumulates seasons, as it moves past 60 or 65 years of service, its inner climate changes. The roaring furnace may become a gentler, more delicate flame. When this gentler system is met with the intense, aggressive energy of these night-thriving plants, a conflict can arise. It is not a poison in the conventional sense. It is an energetic mismatch. This hidden fire, if not properly balanced and processed by the body's digestive strength, can spill over into the system. It can manifest as what we perceive as inflammation, as a subtle, smoldering heat that settles in the vulnerable places, the joints of our fingers, our knees, our hips. It can feel like a persistent, low-grade ache, a stiffness that seems to have no clear cause. We may stretch, we may rest, but the feeling remains, because the source is not in the muscles or bones themselves, but in the internal environment that bathes them. The body is sending a clear message. This particular intensity is too much for me right now. We are not being punished, we are being informed. The pain is a teacher asking us to listen more closely. The common response is to seek an external solution, a pill, a cream, a therapy, and while these may offer temporary relief, they do not address the root of the communication. They are like silencing a smoke alarm while the fire continues to smolder. The discipline, the practice, is to turn inward. It is to begin an experiment of observation. It does not require a dramatic, fearful rejection of these foods forever. It simply asks for a period of quiet removal, to step back from these specific vegetables for a few weeks and to listen. What happens to the morning stiffness? What happens to the persistent ache in the knuckle? You are not following a dogmatic rule. You are entering into a dialogue with your own body. You are creating the space for it to speak, and you are cultivating the stillness required to hear its answer. This is the beginning of true self-knowledge, a wisdom that cannot be found in a book or a chart, but only in the direct experience of your own unique living system. It is the first step in learning to regulate your own inner climate rather than being a victim of its storms. Cold, dampness. The second form of imbalance that can settle in the joints comes not from an excess of fire, but from its opposite, an invasion of what can be understood as cold and dampness. In our modern pursuit of health, the raw food movement has gained tremendous popularity. We are told that cooking destroys nutrients, and so we turn to large salads, to green smoothies, to handfuls of raw vegetables, believing we are consuming life in its purest form. And for a body with an immensely powerful digestive fire, this can be true. The internal furnace can take this cold raw material and effectively cook it internally, extracting the nourishment and eliminating the rest. However, just as the body's ability to handle intense, fiery foods can change with age, so too can the strength of this internal metabolic fire. For many people over the age of 60, this inner flame burns less intensely than it once did. It requires more care, more support, and more consideration. When we introduce a large volume of cold, raw foods like cucumber, celery, or an abundance of raw leafy greens into this more delicate system, the inner furnace can struggle. Instead of efficiently breaking down and assimilating these foods, the system can become overwhelmed. The cold quality of the food can begin to dampen the digestive fire, slowing it down. This creates a condition of stagnation, of incomplete processing. Imagine a campfire that is burning low. If you place a large wet log upon it, you do not get more fire, you get smoke, sputtering, and a further reduction of heat. This is analogous to what can happen inside the body. This dampness is not water in the literal sense. It is a quality of sluggishness, of heaviness, of energy that is not flowing freely. And this internal dampness, this stagnation, seeks a place to settle. It often gravitates towards the joints, which are the great crossroads of the body's energy pathways. It manifests as a different kind of pain from the fiery ache of inflammation. This is the pain of stiffness, of heaviness, of joints that feel swollen, boggy, and difficult to move, especially in the morning or in damp weather. It is the feeling of being stuck. The message from the body is, once again, clear and direct. I do not have the strength to process this cold right now. I need warmth. I need support. The practice, therefore, is one of recognizing the current capacity of your own system. It is not a declaration that all raw vegetables are harmful. It is an invitation to shift the balance towards foods that are cooked, warm, and easier to digest. It is choosing a nourishing soup over a large, cold salad. It is opting for steamed or roasted vegetables instead of raw ones. This simple act of pre-digesting our food through cooking is an act of profound kindness to an aging body. It supports the inner furnace, allowing it to do its work without being exhausted. It prevents the accumulation of cold and dampness and allows the body's natural energy to flow more freely, warming and nourishing the very joints that were once stiff and heavy. This is not about restriction. It is about skillful cooperation. It is about understanding that true nourishment is not just about the chemical composition of a food, but about the body's ability to receive and utilize it with ease. Sweet deception. The third category of vegetables that can disrupt the harmony of the joints operates through a more subtle, deceptive mechanism. These are the vegetables that are high in starch and natural sugars. We are speaking of corn, of peas, of carrots in large quantities, and again the potato, but viewed through a different lens. On the surface, these foods are natural, they are from the earth, and they are often staples of a healthy diet. The deception lies not in their nature, but in our relationship with them and the quantity in which we consume them. In the intricate ecosystem of the body, balance is paramount. One of the most delicate balances to maintain is the regulation of sugar in the bloodstream. While the body needs glucose for energy, an excess of it, delivered too quickly, acts as a powerful agent of internal disruption. When we consume large amounts of these starchy, sweet vegetables, they are rapidly converted into sugar within our system. This flood of sugar triggers a cascade of chemical reactions, the primary one being a surge of inflammation throughout the entire body. This is not a localized fire, but a systemic one. This systemic inflammation creates a hostile environment for every cell and every tissue, but it is often felt most acutely in the joints. The delicate synovial membranes that cushion our bones become irritated and inflamed, leading to pain, swelling, and a loss of mobility. This is the same mechanism through which refined sugar and processed carbohydrates wreak havoc on the body. The deception is that because the source is a vegetable, we believe it is harmless. We might eat a large portion of sweet corn or a heaping plate of mashed potatoes, feeling virtuous, all the while unknowingly fueling the very inflammatory fire that is causing our joint pain. The body is not differentiating between the sugar from a candy bar and the sugar from an excessive amount of sweet vegetables. It is simply responding to the biochemical reality of a sugar overload. It is a quiet, insidious process. The connection between the meal and the subsequent joint ache a day or two later is often missed because the cause is perceived as a healthy choice. The practice here is one of honesty and moderation. It requires us to look beyond the labels of healthy and unhealthy and to understand the principle of quantity and effect. It is an invitation to become sensitive to the total load of sugar and starch in our diet, regardless of the source. Perhaps it means treating corn and sweet peas as a garnish rather than a main component of a meal. Perhaps it means pairing a small portion of potato with plenty of fiber and healthy fats to slow down its conversion into sugar. The underlying discipline is mindfulness. It is paying attention not just to what we eat, but to how much we eat and how our body feels in the hours and days that follow. It is about shifting from a mindset of consumption to one of conscious nourishment. By understanding this sweet deception, we can begin to dismantle a powerful yet hidden source of chronic pain. We are no longer fooled by the wholesome appearance of the food, but are guided instead by the wisdom of its effect upon our internal state. This awareness is a shield that protects the tranquility of our joints and the balance of our entire system. Warming foods. Understanding what may cause imbalance is only half of the journey. The other, more empowering half is to understand what actively creates harmony, what supports the body's innate capacity for health and ease. If hidden fire, cold dampness, and sweet deception can disrupt the joints, then we must seek their opposites: gentle warmth, easy digestion, and stable energy. This is where we turn our focus to the foods that build and soothe, the foods that act as a comforting embrace for the internal systems. This is not about finding a single miracle food, but about cultivating a way of eating that is fundamentally warming, nourishing, and supportive. The foundation of this approach is cooked food. The simple act of applying heat to our food before we eat it is a form of external digestion. It begins to break down the complex structures of the food, making it far easier for our internal digestive fire to finish the job. This is an act of conservation, preserving our precious vital energy for healing and regeneration, rather than expending it all on the difficult task of breaking down raw, complex materials. Think of well-cooked root vegetables, vegetables that grow deep in the earth like parsnips, turnips, squash, and sweet potatoes. In moderation, have a grounding, centering quality. When they are roasted, steamed, or made into a puree, their nutrients become readily available and their gentle nature soothes the digestive tract. They provide a slow, steady release of energy, avoiding the sharp spikes in blood sugar that fuel inflammation. They are the bedrock of a joint-friendly diet. To this foundation, we can add the power of warming, aromatic spices. Spices like ginger, turmeric, and cinnamon are not mere flavorings. They are potent natural medicines that have been used for centuries to support digestion and quell inflammation. A small amount of freshly grated ginger in a tea or a soup can gently stoke the digestive fire. Turmeric, especially when combined with a pinch of black pepper to increase its absorption, is a world-renowned agent for calming the body's inflammatory response. These spices are like trusted allies, bringing their warmth and healing power directly to where it is needed most. Furthermore, we can embrace the profound nourishment of broths and soups. A long-simmered broth, made from either animal bones or a rich variety of vegetables and mushrooms, is one of an ancient wisdom. It is a liquid that is pre-digested, easy to assimilate, and deeply hydrating. It is rich in minerals and compounds that directly support the health of our connective tissues, our cartilage, and our bones. To sip a warm cup of broth is to offer a direct gift of healing to your joints. It lubricates, it soothes, and it warms from the inside out. Shifting your diet in this direction towards well-cooked root vegetables, warming spices, and nourishing broths is not about deprivation, It is a joyful exploration of foods that make you feel genuinely good, not just in the moment of eating, but in the hours and days that follow. It is a way of aligning your choices with your body's deepest needs, creating an internal environment of warmth, flow, and ease where joint pain struggles to survive. This is how you begin to build a fortress of well-being from within. Mindful eating. We have spoken of what to eat and what to moderate, but even this is an incomplete picture. A truth that is often overlooked in the modern world is that the how of our eating is as important, if not more so, than the what. You could prepare the most perfect, warming, anti-inflammatory meal, but if you consume it in a state of stress, distraction, and hurry, you can negate much of its benefit. The state of our mind directly and immediately impacts the chemistry of our digestion. When we are stressed, anxious, or distracted, the body enters a state of fight or flight. Blood is shunted away from the digestive organs to the muscles, preparing for a perceived threat. In this state, the stomach does not produce adequate acid, the pancreas does not release sufficient enzymes, and the entire process of assimilation is compromised. The food we eat can sit in our system, poorly digested, creating fermentation, gas, and, once again, inflammation. The practice of mindful eating is the antidote to this modern affliction. It is the conscious decision to elevate the act of eating from a mindless refueling to a sacred ritual of nourishment. This practice begins before the first bite. It begins with taking a moment to simply be with your food, to sit down, away from screens and other distractions, to look at the meal you have prepared, to notice the colors, the textures, the aroma. This simple act of observation sends a powerful signal to the brain and in turn to the digestive system. It is time to eat. Prepare to receive. It is a moment of gratitude, acknowledging the long journey the food has taken to arrive on your plate. Then, when you take the first bite, you do so with your full attention. You place the food in your mouth and perhaps you even put down your fork. You simply chew. This is a critical and often rushed step. Chewing is the first stage of mechanical digestion, and the saliva in our mouth contains enzymes that begin the chemical digestion of carbohydrates. By chewing thoroughly until the food is nearly liquid, you are performing a profound act of kindness for the rest of your digestive system. You are doing the heavy lifting, making the job of the stomach and intestines infinitely easier. As you eat, you remain present with the sensations, the taste, the texture, the feeling of the food. You listen not only with your ears, but with your entire body. You pay attention to the subtle signals of satiety, the feeling of your stomach gently filling. This allows you to recognize the point of enough rather than eating until you are uncomfortably full. This practice transforms your relationship with food. It is no longer a source of potential conflict or anxiety, but a moment of peace, presence, and self-care. It ensures that the carefully chosen, warming, and nourishing foods you eat are received by a body that is calm, prepared, and ready to assimilate their goodness. This is the missing link in most dietary advice. Without this foundation of mindfulness, even the best dietary strategy will rest on unstable ground. By integrating the how with the what, you create a truly holistic and powerful approach to healing your body and soothing your joints from the inside out. Body's wisdom. Through this entire discussion, it is crucial to hold one principle above all others. The guidance offered here is not a set of rigid, absolute laws. It is a map, a framework for beginning your own personal investigation. The ultimate authority on what your body needs is not an external teacher, a book, or a video. The ultimate authority is the body itself. The entire purpose of this practice, of noticing the effects of fiery foods, of observing the impact of coldness, of understanding the subtlety of sugar, and of eating with mindfulness, is to sharpen your own sensitivity. It is to learn or relearn the unique language of your own physical form. A food that causes stiffness and pain for you may be perfectly fine for another person. Even for you, a food that causes an issue this week when you are stressed or tired might be handled perfectly well next month when you are rested and your system is strong. The body is not a static machine. It is a dynamic, ever-changing ecosystem. Therefore, our approach to nourishing it must also be dynamic and responsive. The lists of vegetables to moderate are simply starting points for your own experiment. They are categories that, for many people in their later years, tend to cause imbalance. Use them as such. Remove one category for a time, perhaps 2 or 3 weeks, and listen with honest curiosity. Do not hope for a specific outcome, simply observe. Keep a simple journal if it helps. Note your energy levels, the quality of your sleep, and of course, the state of your joints. Note the stiffness in the morning, the aches during the day. Then, if you choose, you can reintroduce a small amount of that food, prepared well, and listen again. What is the body's response? Is there a subtle return of the ache, a feeling of heaviness? This is the conversation. The pain is not your enemy, it is your most honest messenger. It is providing you with direct, real-time feedback on how your choices are affecting your internal environment. To learn to interpret this feedback is to acquire the most valuable health skill imaginable. This journey transforms you from a passive recipient of dietary rules into an active, empowered participant in your own well-being. You are no longer searching for the one perfect diet that exists outside of you. You are cultivating the inner wisdom to create the perfect diet for you in this moment. This process builds a relationship with your body based on trust, respect, and deep listening. You begin to see it not as a source of betrayal and decay, but as a wise and faithful partner that is constantly communicating its needs. The aches and pains that once caused fear and frustration become valuable signals, guiding you back towards harmony. This is the profound shift in mindset that underpins true sustainable vitality. It is the understanding that health is not a destination to be reached, but a state of balance to be cultivated moment by moment, meal by meal, through the quiet, consistent practice of listening to the wisdom that is already within you. The path to easing the body is not found in a war against certain foods, but in a quiet cessation of hostilities. It is in the laying down of arms against our own physical form and beginning a dialogue of peace. When we provide the body with the warmth it needs, when we remove the burdens that exhaust it, and when we offer our full loving presence to the act of nourishment, we create the conditions for harmony. The pain, which was only ever a messenger, can finally fall silent, its job complete. In that quiet space, we find not just relief for our joints, but a deep and abiding peace with the miracle of being alive in this body, right here, right now. Has your body ever sent you a clear message through food that you initially ignored? Be honest. What was it trying to tell you?